Hello, everyone. I am Brady Briggs here for another episode of the Combat Logic. Joining me today is Tyler Avery, fresh off his Street Beefs win on, what was it, August 6th? All right, Tyler.
August 7th.
August 7th. Nice to be speaking with you.
Nice to be speaking with you.
Uh,
Some big
we're gonna-
fights coming up.
Yes, sir. We're going to be talking about Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley today. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, first of all, it's definitely the biggest celebrity to athlete crossover match that I can think of. So I think it could open the door to a lot of other matches like that. And for me, that's what's the biggest thing for me because I think it's exciting to watch. So I like to see it happen more. So
Yeah. I hated it at first, honestly. What the Pauls were doing, I couldn't fucking stand them. And then after Jake knocked out Nate Robinson, even though I know Nate Robinson isn't a fighter, I was like, okay, he actually had some technique to it. And then he did it to Ben Askren. And then it's like, I kind of want the circus to continue. It is pretty exciting.
yeah.
So throughout his career, let's see, he's 1-0 as an amateur and 3-0 as a pro. He fought a fellow YouTuber in his first fight, a basketball player in his second fight. So that's a little bit of a step up because he's going up to an athlete. And then the next, he fought a 9-time world champion that had zero striking at all. Now he's fighting a 5-time world champion that can strike. What do you think Tyron Woodley has to do in this fight in order to win?
I mean, he just has to do what he always does. You know, what he always has done in the past. He just has to not be a depleted version of himself, to be honest.
Not be gun shy.
Yeah, he needs to not be further down the road that you were seeing versus him with the elite competition. But has he fallen that far? Like, yes, he's lost a few tough fights with top flight competition, but does that mean that, you know, a talented athletic novice has the chance of beating him yet? No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. That's the thing about the Pauls. It's such an unknown. I do love how they're building the story though. It's like it's so perfect. It's a little bit of a step up each time. But the thing about Tyron, obviously, he's been fighting a lot longer than Jake, and he's been boxing a lot longer than Jake. Not only boxing, but he has been doing it longer. The thing that I worry about him in this fight with is he's never been a combination puncher. But then at the same time, we don't know if Jake is either.
Yeah, they both kind of seems like they like to chamber a big shot, but I think in a way Jake might even set up some of his strikes better for boxing because Tyron, his setups are overhands because of his takedowns. So it's like feigning low for the overhand before he's going for a takedown or before he goes for an overhand. But I see Jake setting up more of his shots in boxing. I feel like he feints more with the jab and he's more active with his hands as Tyron marches forward and kind of waits for the big shot or goes for a takedown, which isn't an option in this.
Right. Yeah, he does definitely wait for that one shot. He always has, but I feel like he's had more success with it, previously than he has recently. He's very gun shy nowadays. He is 39 years old, so obviously he's not what he used to be. But I think a big thing for him is that shuffle step that he has, that he's knocked so many people out with, like Jay Huron, like Robbie Lawler. He switches his stance, and right as he does that, he uncorks that overhand. That could be confusing for Jake because I don't think he's ever seen that before.
Yeah, he hasn't. I mean, he hasn't seen it as much as Tyron has, and even if he has seen it, it couldn't. Even just with the total time he spent in there, he wouldn't have seen unorthodox movements like that enough yet.
Right. Yeah, he's only been doing it 3 or 4 years. A lot's being made about the size of the two. Obviously Tyron was a welterweight his whole career, as was Ben. Actually, Ben was a middleweight too. He was never really a middleweight though. He's fighting 170-pound fighters at 190 pounds. So more or less, he's cutting like 20 pounds or 15 pounds, and his opponents aren't cutting any. I think that obviously helps him, but I'm kind of glad because his opponents have so much more experience than him. So it kind of adds to the show a little bit.
Right. Another thing about that is I feel like that would be more of a factor. And don't get me wrong, Jake is super athletic, strong, powerful, you know what I mean? But it would be more of a factor if he was already super lean. He's not crazy lean. You know
Mm-mm.
what I mean?
He's a
Like
very thick
he's
kid.
probably carrying a similar amount of muscle as Tyron, if maybe not less, but he's just taller frame, not as lean. You know what I mean? Sometimes it makes me question what he's really doing behind the scenes or how dedicated the diet and stuff really is, because if he's really this natural of an athlete, he should be showing some physical signs of that with the high level training by now, but he kind of does look the same as when he first started.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a thick kid, but that's funny because this is another thing that I want to talk about today. When I watched that interview that Ariel Helwani did with the two of them, Tyron asked if he was on PEDs. And I didn't necessarily think that he was at first, but his answer makes me very skeptical because he was not confident in saying no. He really wasn't. Like,
Maybe it was just a scary answer for him. He's new to the game, so something like that
yeah,
might take him off guard as well. But I don't know. I'm a bad judge of who's on PEDs or not, to
yeah,
be
me
honest.
too.
Because it's not always the guys that are yoked up and have the traps. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
sometimes it's not just for physical appearance or physical things. It's sometimes like endurance or how your
Yep.
blood accepts oxygen and things like that. So
PJ
there's
friend.
all kinds of things that we don't even think of that they could really be on.
Yeah, honestly, something like that would help him because the Pauls haven't shown very good cardio thus far. And what's fun, well, Logan really hasn't, but Jake got like a fifth round
Bulky.
finish or a fourth round finish in his amateur fight, so that was cool. But I want to talk about adversity. We haven't seen Jake have any adversity yet. We haven't even really seen him get hit. And Tyron Woodley, when he faces adversity, has never really he's never been the one to really push back. You know what I mean? Like when he's losing a fight, unless he can land that one shot, generally don't go his way.
Right. He's not very good at being the nail. He likes to be the hammer. And
Yeah.
when people start, like when he faced like Gilbert Burns and stuff, and they're the ones charging forward and he's on his back foot, he doesn't seem to be the same one, the same
No, no.
guy, not the same chosen one, Tyron Woodley, that we all remember when he was the champion.
Right,
Um,
right.
I saw glimpses of that before he lost the belt.
Me
I
too.
saw that things were changing with him and he was losing some of that confidence. And honestly, his body has changed a lot.
hmm
He actually said like normally he's a big welterweight and he was cutting a lot of weight. Now he says that he doesn't really have to cut anything, and
hmm
he's lost like a lot of mass that he used to have, and that's when he was really getting those crazy explosive knockouts like he did over Robbie Lawler and some
Yeah.
of the guys in Strike Force. That when he was in his physical prime, that's definitely coming to an end. But in a way, I still think he's more physical than Paul. I could be wrong on that,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
we'll
he's
see.
wrestled like his whole life and he's been a fighter for half of it. So I would agree with that.
Going up and down in weight just takes a toll on your body after a while.
Yeah. But honestly, I did expect him to be a little bit bigger. Like he definitely looks a little thicker than he would on like the day of weigh-ins, but
Woodley,
he's not that big yet.
I thought he looked pretty good at the weigh-ins. I was pretty impressed with how serious he took considering his opponent, and it would have been easy for him to have like a mental break on himself and say,
Yeah.
I'm just, this is such a step down in competition. This guy could not compete with the guys I was competing with, so how could he beat me? You know what I mean?
hmm
So that's how I would convince myself more than likely. But if he treats this, if he's treating this like a high level fight and he's expecting a war, it could be a rough night for
Yeah.
Paul.
Speaking of that, Paul did say that he wants to drag Tyron into deep waters and drown him when he has
Ben in deep
never gone
waters.
past, yeah, he's never gone past round five. Tyron's gone 5 rounds at least a handful of times. Like, neither of them are the best endurance athletes, but what do you think of that?
That's tough. I
I think it's
I
comical.
just I don't see Paul having an advantage there.
Me either.
Maybe it's not. Maybe Tyron doesn't have the biggest advantage there, but it his body is just more conditioned over the years. It's
Yeah.
like some things you can't just have with talent. You know what I mean? You can have everything mentally and all the IQ in the world and know how to train and everything, but some stuff comes with time. Like
Yeah.
Your body, having to go through that for so long changes you.
Honestly, most of it comes with time.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Especially cardio.
Yeah. What? All right. Anderson Silva came back a couple months ago. He started out his UFC career 16-0. Everybody knows this, with 14 finishes. He moved up to light heavyweight 3 times, got first round knockouts in all 3 of them. He's like an 11-time middleweight champion. And he went 1-7 in his last 8, or 1-7-1 in his last 9. And then he goes over to boxing and beats the former multi-time middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, I see some parallels with this with Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley, both being former UFC champions a number of times, both being good strikers. But I don't see any parallels with Jake Paul and Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr. is a world champion, as I just said, and Paul is 3-0. So
Yeah.
I think for Paul to be the betting favorite going into this fight, I think is kind of comical.
Yeah. It's money involves that a lot.
Yeah.
He's tipped the scales so many times with these unknown, like out of the blue wins that no one was expecting, that so much money has been put down on certain people, and there's so many people who aren't MMA fans and aren't knowledgeable in the game that are in on this fight. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because he brings another demographic of fans.
He really does. I think it's like mostly casuals that brings it, but that's like the bigger array of audience. Most people aren't hardcore fans.
Yeah. I lost, I think it was $800 to a less hardcore fan than me on the night of
The
the
Askren
Jake
fight?
Paul Askren fight.
Oh my God.
And now I don't know why I would have even bet it now.
God
like
damn.
because I've thought about it so much more.
I know you said you were confident that Askren was going to win that fight, but Christ, man, that's crazy.
And why was I betting on a fight like that when there's that much money involved, and people that aren't really involved in the sport are involved in it now? Like, now I'm thinking, like, am I going to even risk that it wasn't a fix? You know what I mean? And now I'm thinking, like, shoot, why am I even betting on this? I don't even know what's real, what's not.
Yeah. That's the thing with betting on the Paul fights. You never know how it's gonna go. But I don't think that fight was fixed. A lot of people.
I don't either.
I mean, yeah, Ben Askren can't strike, and he's always kept his left hand low, and he ate an overhand. I mean, he's a wrestler. Everybody knows he's one of like the best MMA grapplers ever. Yeah. But if Tyron Woodley should win this fight, Jake Paul and his team have negotiated an automatic rematch clause. So what do you think of that? Because that's something that a lot of high-level boxers do. And I would not expect that from a 3-0 talent.
Yeah, I think that he's understanding that this is a big step up in competition, and I think it shows, like, mentally he's taking this for what it is. Because when I heard him talking about it, he was like, I'm facing a multi-time world champion. If I want my shot at him again after, I want to be able to have that. And he's smart to do that because it's not a guaranteed win by any stretch. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Ben Askren, he might have known things we didn't know, obviously, until he stepped in there. He knew he was going to perform better than people thought. But this is going to change things a little bit. We know what he can bring to the table a little bit more. There's a little bit, his hand is a little bit showing more than it was before. We know what Tyron brings to the table, which is a lot. And now we know that Jake brings a little something to the table as well. So
yeah, we know he's got some technique behind his shots. That's all we know, because we've only seen him have to throw a few. The kid hits hard as hell.
His form is good, and he's explosive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he is. He's very explosive. He's a big advocate for fighter pay. Do you think fighter pay is an issue in the sport, in combat sports?
Well, I'll say I don't really think he's that much of an advocate for fighter pay. I think it's a dig for Dana White, but
yeah,
at the same time, I mean, it's only doing positive things. Like, if he pressures people into having more money given out to these fighters, then so be it. And I think that when all these fighters are like give me double the bonus, yada yada. It puts pressure on Dana White to do these things. He's like, if I say no, am I gonna get all this clap back from Paul brothers and
media
all of
fans
his fans? So it's like I feel like he is in a corner and he gets nervous into just agreeing to these things because he's trying to flip the script a little bit and change the image of how fighters are paid.
yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I think some fighters should make more money, but I I think Conor McGregor showed us what happens when they really make a lot of money. They're just
Yeah.
not the fucking same anymore.
Well, there's
So,
a big disparity there. If
oh
there's a
my
middle
God,
ground, it'd be nice. But
if there was what?
if there's a little bit of a middle ground,
Oh yeah, right. If a lot of these guys weren't making 20 and 20, and then 30 of that has to go to fucking practice and their managers and all this. Like,
yeah,
dude,
you don't have any leverage as an MMA fighter because you're coming from struggles and you're coming from, you're working your way up and it's tough. You probably still work a regular job. You probably got kids to support,
yeah.
you got, you're trying to get your footing in life, and then you have this opportunity with the UFC that can propel you forward, but still it's not enough to maybe pay all your bills or pay your coaching fees or to even live, but that's your shot and it's still better
Right.
than what you were doing before. So what, are you going to take it or are you going to not, so it's
Hmm.
these guys are in a position where they have no choice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, put it in perspective, I don't remember the exact numbers, but after Charles Oliveira beat Michael Chandler and won the belt, out of all the money that he was given, he walked home with like less than 20 grand. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but
Yeah,
after taxes and all this other shit, it's like that's
paying your
remarkable.
coaches and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's the thing is in a way is like a lot of these guys starting out in the UFC are still in their small hometown gyms. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they're getting maybe almost free training because they can't afford to give up
Hmm.
half of their purse right now
Especially
because
now with all the fighters on the roster.
yeah, and they've really taken a step forward with allowing another bracket of talent that was maybe lower than the UFC before. They're starting to like fill in some of the gaps, so it's not just if you can't beat anyone in the top 5, you shouldn't be in the UFC, which is a terrible attitude that everyone has. I hate it when people say he won't beat any of these guys, so
Yeah.
he sucks. It's like, well,
Hmm. I
there's
know
levels
all
to
the
it.
time. I see that shit every day on
Yeah,
Facebook.
there's
Every
levels to
day.
it, and they bring all the levels now more. So
Yeah, it's like what people don't get. It's because most people don't train, or haven't before. Like, I know so many amateurs with negative records that like beat the shit out of anybody else I know. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many levels upon levels upon levels to this.
yeah, and actually stepping in there, you even training, you can train for so long, and then once you get in there, you can't even perform like you did in the gym because
Yep,
it's new, it's different. You know what I
I
mean?
have
And
that problem.
yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone does, or at least I did.
Yeah.
I felt like I was so sloppy in my first fight on the feet because I just it was so nerve-wracking. The
Hmm.
environment was so different. I was really far from home all by myself, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So I didn't really know how things went. So my adrenaline had already gone up and down. I didn't know when I was gonna fight. So I
Yeah.
had already been completely exhausted, hadn't eaten anything, and then I go in there and I think I know how this is gonna be, and then it starts, and I'm like, this is nothing like I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah,
This
I
isn't like even
know.
sparring hard. This is not everyone's yelling around you in
Right.
the crowd, it you learn a lot and you have a lot more respect for it
Yeah.
when you actually go out and do it, regardless of if someone goes in there and wins or lose. Anyone that's gone in there knows how hard it is. Like no one that talks shit really are people that have gone in there because they're like, dude, I know, trust me, that was hard to even do that,
Yeah. And
it's
people
tough.
that have are respectful about it because they know.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
the whole adrenaline dump thing, not knowing how it went. Yeah, I want to say thank you for that because I thought my fight was going to be relatively soon, and the shit was like 5 hours after that. You're like, don't get your adrenaline up right now, but yeah,
Yeah, I got there at 8:30
that
and
was
I had my adrenaline up at 8:30
that's
and I was like
crazy,
ready to
man.
go.
I had
So
one when I was pulling up to the place. I had one around 2 or 3 o'clock, and then right before I fought. Yeah, it was shitty.
Yeah.
But your striking actually looked really good in round 3. You landed a few hard right hands.
But by then I was so exhausted that I felt more comfortable then. I was like, okay, I can strike with this guy. I calmed everything down with the grappling a little bit, and he wasn't as as crazy anymore. So I was like, okay, I can strike with this guy. And by then I couldn't even barely lift my arms.
Yeah, he was
but
a
I
kicker.
managed to get the right hand off.
Yeah, he was throwing a lot early on. That's for sure. But yeah, your wrestling and scrambles. Your scrambles looked really good too.
Right.
Last thing on this topic, how do you want this fight to go?
I mean, that's tough. I want Tyron to win because he's the UFC guy, the MMA guy. I just, and I don't really care for maybe how the Paul brothers move a little bit, but at the same time, I want these things to keep happening. But is it the end for Paul if he loses here? Is the hype train coming to an end? I don't really know. It could. It might not because they have the rematch. But is the rematch going to be as hyped if he goes out there and looks like a world champion versus a YouTuber?
Yeah.
If that's how it looks, where does that leave Paul? Not in a great spot.
If he loses, I do believe he'll come back to fight that rematch. But if he loses, I don't see him winning the rematch. He's not really a fighter, like he doesn't.
Depends how he loses.
Right. If he loses, I would honestly probably see him getting finished.
Yeah.
I don't really think either of them are going to go 8 rounds. They could, but
if it does, it's going to look pretty bad, I think, towards the end for both of them.
Yeah, because they're both going to be really tired. Yeah, I mean, I want the shit show to continue, man. Like it's fun to watch. It really is. Like I said, I hated him at first, but it would be cool if he beats Tyron. But then again, if Tyron wins and then he wins another fight against Paul, we got another boxer to watch because he wants to make a career out of it, he said.
And also, if Tyron wins, Paul could always go back to fighting celebrities, and he would beat all of them pretty much. So he could always go back to that, fight all the people that have been running their mouth about him, so which is a lot of people. And that could be, him taking the route with fighters is a choice. He could have made the same type of money fighting all these big mouth, people that would make big promos, all these celebrities.
Yeah.
He could have these easy fights and paydays and fight 12 times a year if you wanted. You know what I mean?
That might actually be what he does. That's probably what he'll do. If he loses to Tyron, he might not even get the rematch clause if he loses badly to him, because it's up to him to invoke it or not. After like 90 days or something, if you don't, then kind of fuck.
It also shows that he really wants to be a real fighter. He wants to be a real fighter. So that's a factor. It shows his seriousness. He's taking this serious.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. I think that about wraps it up. I appreciate you for coming on and talking to me. Everybody, look up New York Hitman on Street Beast. You'll be able to watch his fight. I'll put it in the link below. And don't log off. I'm gonna edit this last part out. Because I forgot to ask you. So what does Jeff have to do? Does he have to get a hold of you or something for writing?
I'll tell you what the message says between us. 1 second.
Yeah, it's all good.
I've gotten so many messages since my fight dropped.
Dude, I've gotten a lot of messages too, like people I don't even know.
Yeah, friend requests.
Yeah, dude, like my fight has 60,000 views, bro. Like 60 fucking thousand. It's crazy.
I think I got 20,000.
Yeah, you'll have more because yours was just uploaded, but mine was uploaded like a week ago. But it's like
it's the thumbnails that get them.
Is it?
I think so. The thumbnails, or if you have a big name. I didn't have a big name, and neither did the guy I fought. But in the thumbnail, I feel like if it looks like someone's like going down.
Oh, the picture. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude. I love my thumbnail. I'm so fucking happy they put that. It's like a perfect jab. I love that.
That's probably why you got like a decent amount of views. You know what I mean? Because people are like, "Oh, look at that," And they
like I already lost the fight, so that's pretty fucking dope. They put that up there. I was happy to know about that. And yeah, I'm not known. Toxic isn't known, but Sensations fights get like 250, 300,000 views. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. if you guys can fight in the daytime, because his last
Yeah, I
fight was
know,
at night,
right?
and I feel like no one
Everybody
clicked
was
on it.
bitching about it.
You can't even see it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the majority of what was going on, but I mean, still, it's not good,
I would have brought a fog light if they would have
right?
told me
Something.
that they didn't have it or
They're
something.
gonna go that late. Fuck, man.
He
It was a
told me
good
I'll
fight.
add you to the WordPress soon.
Okay. Did you give him your email and all?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, once you start doing that and you get comfortable with it, I could probably get you a job at my MMA news because my boss is always hiring people, and we could like recap fights. We could cover fights. He'll let you write whatever you want as long as it hasn't
Yeah.
been already.
Yeah. And you know what's a big thing right now is sports betting is becoming a really big thing for MMA. And you probably see a lot about it, but people like to look to people for their picks. That would be a
Yeah.
cool thing to dabble in, would be to talk about betting lines and uh underdogs that we think are potential lucky picks, or
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Because I do really well with the betting myself.
Yeah. Are you talking about pieces like articles,
Oh, videos really.
videos? Okay. Yeah, we can do that on here if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on again. But
I
yeah,
created a YouTube channel too.
could you?
Yeah, I did, but I'm not sure what I want to do for the first thing for it yet, so I'm just gonna wait on it. But I figured if I create it now, I'll have no excuse and I'll be ready when I do have an idea.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I had a couple ideas. Like I got a music channel that I'm started a couple months ago. This one I also started a couple months ago. I've been waiting to do it forever. But the best advice I was given is start before you're ready. So
Yeah, you
that
learn.
time you're ready, you know how to do it. But yeah, hopefully he adds you to that soon and you get to do your thing. It's a lot of fun. I always loved writing articles.
Yeah, I'm not a experienced writer, but I do know MMA. So
So, all right, how is your English?
I mean, it's fine. I make a lot of typos on my phone because it's huge.
Yeah, we
So
got spell correct, so
yeah,
it's all good.
but yeah, I have a laptop, so I can do all my typing and stuff on that.
Yeah, I can't stand doing it on my phone, dude. That's like one of the more frustrating things in the world. That keypad is
Yeah.
so goddamn small. But yeah, let me know when you get at it and how it goes, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you too.